What's up, everybody? Welcome to the True Sight Podcast. My name is Caleb. I'm here with my good friend Seth. We are excited to be here. This is our first episode. We actually revamped it. We had a few episodes and I've restarted it, and Seth is going to be my co-host now. So this podcast covers a variety of topics. Today, before I get into it, make sure you subscribe to us at True Sight Podcast on YouTube. That's where we're going to post every clip, every short video, YouTube shorts. But you can catch the full podcast on Spotify for now, which is probably where you might be hearing this from anyway. So make sure you follow that. So without further ado, we're just going to jump into the first topic right off the bat. You don't have to get to know us too much right now because I'm sure that'll happen over time. So the first topic is going to be short-term happiness over responsibility and good leadership. We're mainly talking about men, or I'm going to be talking about men. But this is basically adults in general, especially in America. So, Seth, I'll let you have the floor.
All right. When you brought that up to me, I was thinking about just different ways that over the years that I have tried to take on certain responsibilities. And a lot of this is based on Jordan Peterson's teachings, like in his 12 Rules for Life and things like that. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about how voluntarily taking on responsibility for self-improvement, how beneficial that is. And I think a lot of times people, especially people in college that I knew and in my years, probably my early 20s, mid 20s, things like that, I knew a lot of people that, I don't want to use the term, didn't want to grow up, but didn't want to become an adult, I guess. They wanted to be an adult as far as have the ability to do the things of an adult, have the freedoms and everything. They didn't want the responsibility involved with that.
Right.
For example, putting off having children, and different people have different reasons for that. But I do know certain people who have made comments to me in just, in conversation over the years that they don't want to do it because they want to give up their freedom. They want to give up their happiness. And I get that. I do understand that. And I think for some people, sure, that probably is the right decision for you. But I think that a lot of people then, especially as they get older, or the ones who maybe have a unexpected pregnancy or something like that, but then choose to go through with it. And later on, they'll say, yeah, giving up my youth or giving up my independence, my happiness at the time, later in life, actually, made me far more fulfilled and happier in life when you do take on those responsibilities. And I think that's kind of how I try to look at things. I try not to look at responsibility as burden. I try to look at it as an opportunity to better myself, to better the people around me. And through that comes happiness. It has to be a voluntary thing, because responsibility that's forced on you is usually a burden. Right. Whether it truly is or not, it's seen by people as a burden if it's forced on them. But if it's voluntary, it kind of sets the stage, the potential for you to do something you had having, whether it's career goals, whether it's education goals, whatever it is, buying an old house and fixing it up, or so, you and your wife doing that. It's a goal to accomplish. Yeah, it was hard work, and it was, you put that on yourself, but you did it voluntarily. In the end, you're more fulfilled from it, or financially stable because of it, if you sell it, whatever. And in the long run, that is what gives true happiness and meaning to people's lives.
Yeah. I completely agree, because now that we have kids, like I've probably been borderline selfish in my life. I've always kind of looked out for me and done different things like that, but it's made me a better person for sure, having children and understanding that it's not about me anymore. It's like a forced thing. It's not about me anymore, but I do want that responsibility and giving. And I say this in the Bible, and everybody teaches you, but giving is better than getting. Giving is better, And when you're a kid, you're like, when you're getting presents, you're like, no, bullshit. Right. No, it's not. But when you get older and you've matured, that is absolutely very true. 100% true. So I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah. And I think that it's one of those things you have to look at in all your aspects of life, because, most of the time when people, like on their deathbeds, they regret the things they didn't do, not the things they did do.
Right.
Everybody makes mistakes in their life. Everybody does things they look back on and say, I probably shouldn't have done that or whatever. But most people, when they're older and look back on their lives, they say, I should have done more of this. I should have
Mhm.
done more of that.
This is kind of where I wanted to go with this next is, and you'll hear it a lot from other people is, so when I was in the dating market, there was me and my brother, we both kind of went through the same thing with, and I know a lot of guys like me did, was the controlling.
Mm.
Okay. So I think there's a lot of responsibility that falls on a man, especially like when you have a wife and children. Like you have to provide, I believe in that, protect, and give a secure place for an environment for a family to be raised, I guess.
Mhm.
So when you're dating a girl and you're in your 20s and they're in their 20s and they won't stay out of the city, they won't stay off the streets, they won't stop partying, they want to go out with their friends. So as a controlling boyfriend, what I used to say is like, hey, we're done with that. Like we're going to be done with that. And it would bring up fights and stuff like that. I didn't care about, hey, you're not socializing. I didn't say that, but you're not going to go to a place, just like I wouldn't go to a strip club or I wouldn't go to certain places because I am taken. I'm in a relationship. When I was going through all the dating and becoming a young man, I failed a lot. I had to get my finances right a lot. I had to learn about the world, right? I'm creating my value real time, basically not married.
Mm-hmm.
A woman creates her value after marriage. I want to hear your thoughts on this. So like when you were, or not even married, but like dating, like seriously, a woman has to show you a lot, and you have to show her things, but like a woman will have to birth children, nurse children, raise children if you're working, take care of the house. So like she's showing, and I talk with my wife all the time about it, and she agrees. That's what's nice about it, is like she is showing me her value and I'm getting to see it in real time. Because I've heard a guy, I forgot his name, he talks about a man builds a frame for a woman to paint in. That's a good analogy of so he brings her into his frame and she makes the art, the kids, the house, right. Because that's just how I see it. So yeah.
I like that analogy that he said. Yeah, it and of course, people hearing you say that, of course, are going to say, well, that's outdated, a misogynistic view. That's just you. That's because our society has set that up that way, and that's what you think is right. And of course, it is true. That is how society has been. Since human existence, as far back as we have any written record of, human beings have, and I'm going to use the word successful. It has worked because if you think about it, human beings, we're not equipped really for survival on this earth. The way you look at animals, they've got fur coats. They can, we're not really cut out for survival. So the fact that human beings have figured out a way to survive for at least 200,000 years, the fact that we're still here. So that dynamic of a man going out providing, if you go to the most primitive view of it, a man goes out, either, kills an animal, brings it back, the woman cooks it on the fire, and, she's been taking care of she's been, and not just, I don't want to say just like, oh, she's been at home taking care of the kids. She's been protecting the kids.
Yeah.
Because while the husband's away, if an animal comes to get one of the kids, that's on the woman to protect while he's away. So I don't view it as, I'm not trying to say it as a negative thing that, oh, it's her job to be there doing that, but that worked for a long period of time. Now, I'm not saying that that's the way it has to be, but one person does need to play that role.
Right.
One person does need to, like you said, voluntarily take on that role of, I'm the provider, I'm the protector and the provider. And then the other one, I'm the nurturer, I'm the one that takes care of, and whichever one chooses to do that, I don't necessarily, I mean, whatever works for you. I'm not going to tell another person how to do it, but I'm not going to lie at the same time and say that there's not something that is ingrained in men, the kind of guys we hang out with. There's something ingrained in us that's how we are. We want to provide, and again, it's for that fulfilling of happiness.
Yeah.
That I'm able to give her a life that she wouldn't have had before.